Good evening all you geeks and ghouls, and welcome back to the channel. In one of my recent videos, I shared with you guys my personal NECA horror figure wish list of characters that I'd love to see get an official figure release. This list included various horror icons that, for one reason or another, have still never been given the action figure treatment from NECA. Icons such as Jack Torrance from The Shining, or Art the Clown, and we can't forget Leprechaun. Well, you guys seem to really enjoy that video, and I loved reading all of your comments with your own proposals for future horror figures that you'd love to see in your own collections. So I thought, why not make a follow-up, as I've got a lot of ideas for future collectibles in this nerdy little brain of mine. But before we begin, please consider slashing that subscribe button. Also drop a like on this video, and also don't forget to tell me in the comments below your own NECA horror figure wish lists. And keep those ideas coming in, because you never know, someone from NECA might just happen to be watching this video, and one day all of our wish lists may become a reality. Now with all that said, let's jump into another round of NECA horror figures that I believe deserve a place on our shelves. So I'm going to start with what I think would make an incredible figure box set for the 30th anniversary of Wes Craven's Scream in 2026. And it's a triple figure pack of Sidney, Billy and Stu based on the climactic ending sequence of the original 90s slasher classic. And thanks to my good friend and NECA employee Blaine Rodenbar, aka Blainer Things, we actually have a visual representation of how these figures could look, as a few years back Blaine designed these concepts for a whole NECA Scream figure line, including Sidney, Dewey, Gale, Billy, Tatum and Stu. And now I need to make this clear, these concepts were designed by Blaine for his own personal portfolio, and they were never planned to be made as official action figures by NECA, and there's currently no plans for these to be produced, but they f***ing should, as these designs look absolutely incredible. And to be honest, NECA should just go for it and make a whole Scream figure line and release every single one of these. Featured here we have our final girl, Sidney Prescott, who would come with alternate heads, a telephone and a handgun, as well as the two original ghost faces, Billy and Stu, who both come with alternate heads, handguns and a Ghostface voice changer. And moving on from one figure line I'd love to see made to another, how about Killer Klowns from outer space? This 80s B-movie cult classic has a special place in the hearts of a lot of horror fans, and I'm sure most people would agree that it'd be so cool if NECA produced figures of the different clowns that appear throughout the movie, along with a bunch of accessories from the cotton candy guns to the popcorn bazookas. This wouldn't be the first time the Killer Klowns have received 7-inch plastic counterparts, as Sorta Toys released a handful of figures in the mid-2000s, and very recently Trick or Treat Studios started to produce their own Killer Clown collectibles as part of the new Scream Greats figure line. The film itself has seen a surge in popularity in recent years, and there's been more merchandise for these cosmic clowns than ever before, as well as their own video game. So it really would be the perfect time for NECA to produce some ultimate figures for this movie. And another big wishlist figure for me would be Drayton Sawyer, or Cook, from the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We're getting a trio of brand new Leatherface Ultimates, as well as a couple of retro cloth reissues of both Leatherface and the Hitchhiker. But a character that I feel like has been left behind and would go down amazingly is Cook, as for one, he's yet to get a figure release, but also I think it would be awesome if he came in some kind of figure pack along with Grandpa, who is still without a NECA figure. This would be a much wanted release for all horror fans, and would also complete the whole set of the Deranged family. Hell, give us a trio figure pack of Cook, Grandpa and the Hitchhiker, since the Hitchhiker is currently only a retro cloth figure. Now that would be cool. So the next horror movie classic that I'd love to see NECA release some figures for is George A. Romero's Dawn of the Dead, which to this day is still, if not the best zombie movie of all time. The company actually produced a couple of different figures based on the film back in the cult classic days, with the Flyboy zombie in series 3, the plaid shirt zombie in series 4, and the Hare Krishna zombie in series 6. There was also a planned box set release for a zombified Roger, but this was sadly cancelled. And if you want to know more about that, check out my unreleased NECA figures video. But anyway, I'd love to see NECA revisit these old zombie figures and give them a more modern update, especially for Flyboy. But some figures for other Romero movies, such as the genre-defining Night of the Living Dead and Day of the Dead, would be awesome too. Since we're on the topic of Romero, how about some Creepshow figures? Now that would be awesome. Next up is another film based around the undead, and it just happens to be one of my favourite films of all time, Shaun of the Dead. Around 20 years ago, and not long after this British comedy classic was released, NECA produced a few figures for the movie, including a 12-inch talking figure of Shaun, a cult classics figure in series 4, and the Winchester 2-pack, featuring both Shaun and Ed. And although the company have already made figures for these unlikely heroes, it definitely would be cool to see them get the ultimate figure treatment. I can imagine a double pack of Ed and Shaun coming with a cricket bat, a pile of vinyls and flowers for mum, like the original cult classic figure did, but also a spade for Ed and maybe some alternate pieces and head sculpts to display Ed in both his normal form and zombie form. Kinda similar to what NECA did just recently with the Jack and David 2-pack from An American Werewolf in London. Also maybe throw in a couple of nice cold pints for them too, while they wait for all this to blow over. Now I've got a couple of wishlist figures that aren't exactly left field, as they're both characters from very famous and very popular J-horror movies, but I feel like these characters have been neglected when it comes to action figure or collectible releases. And it's Samara or Sadako from The Ring and Kayako from the Ju-On series or The Grudge. Again, if you've seen my unreleased NECA horror figures video, you'll know that Samara almost got an official figure release from NECA. The figure would have been a box set that included both a well diorama and a TV unit, and the figure of Samara would have disconnected at the waist, so you can display her either walking from the well or crawling out of the TV. It's so unfortunate that this box set never got to see the light of day, and I really hope to see it become a reality sometime in the future. And then there's Kayako, who to my knowledge has never received the action figure or collectible treatment at all. And I'm sure there's a good reason for that, as there's probably not much you can actually do with this character. She'd probably work best as like a statue or diorama kind of piece. But I just love the Ju-On series, so that's just one for my own personal wish list. And the penultimate wish list figure for today's video is a character from an 80s vampire classic, and it's not the Lost Boys. In fact, NECA actually made some Lost Boys figures back in the cult classic days, and although it would be awesome to have new figures from that movie, what I'd really love to see the company tackle is Fright Night from 1985, specifically Jerry Dandridge, played by Chris Sarandon. Now I'm sure that most of you guys have seen this movie, but if you haven't, you need to check it out. It's honestly one of my favourite vampire movies, and it's an absolute gem from the 80s. But anyway, I feel like a figure of Sarandon's charismatic vampire is long overdue. And that brings me to the final NECA wishlist figures for today's video. And these ones are definitely again near the top of my wishlist for me, as I'd love to see the company produce new figures for Army of Darkness. In recent years, NECA have released a number of collectibles for Evil Dead 2, the Ash vs Evil Dead TV show, and they will soon be releasing the Evil Dead 1 box set of Ash and Cheryl, which I can't wait to add to the collection. So it only makes sense that the company revisits the third installment of the Sam Raimi franchise. We did receive a medieval Ash and an S-Mart Ash figure in series 5 and 6 of the Cult Classics line, and although both of these guys look incredible even for today's standards, it would be so cool to see them get updated Ultimate or retro cloth releases. A new Ultimate Army of Darkness Ash could come with a removable chest plate of armor as seen in the movie, as well as his boomstick, a sword, the mechanical hand, and of course the Necronomicon. A few miniature Ash figures would also be a fantastic inclusion as well. But in addition to medieval Ash, I'd love to see an evil Ash figure that comes with a sword and alternate head sculpts. Or even better yet, how about a Deadite figure pack of all the different skeleton warriors that appear in the film's finale? Imagine if we got a bunch of these guys that could be used to create awesome diorama displays. There's so much potential here, and there's a lot that I know NECA can do with this movie. But an Army of Darkness deluxe double pack of Ash and Evil Ash, and maybe throw in one skeletal Deadite or two, would make for one hell of a groovy collectible. So that concludes today's video. Once again, you guys let me know if you'd like to see a part 3, and don't forget to tell me your own wish list for NECA horror figures in the comment section below. But until next time guys, take care.